Hi, I'm Marna, and let's talk about imposter syndrome. Do you suffer from this? Because I do, all the time. I am constantly convinced that no matter what I'm doing, no matter how good I am at it, no matter how many degrees I have in it, I've just been faking it for years. And sooner or later, everyone else is going to realize this too. Do you feel that way sometimes? I'm willing to bet you do, because a lot of us go through this feeling at some point in time. Imposter syndrome is basically the belief that you're not as competent as everyone else perceives you to be. You believe that you're a phony, you just aren't as good at this as everyone thinks you are. Now, let me tell you, I had a 25-year career where I went from working frontline with customers to doing management. And the entire 25 years, I honestly believed that I was just getting lucky on making these people happy. That I was pulling things off by the seat of my pants the entire time. Even though I had a master's degree in the topic, even though I had done extensive research, even though I was a published author in it, and even though I had received international acclaim for some of the things I had done. Now, how off does my thinking have to be for me to look at this list of accomplishments, including helping others in my profession on 3 different continents, and think I'm still a phony? Yeah. This is what imposter syndrome does. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how accomplished you are. It doesn't matter how much you've studied it. You still just think that you're winging it. You're doing it off the cuff. You don't really know what you're doing. You're just, really, really good at convincing other people that you do. Now, this is different from being a con artist. A con artist does not put in the work. A con artist literally is just convincing other people they know what they're doing. Whereas with imposter syndrome, you really are quite competent at what you're doing, but you don't feel it inside for some reason. So how does this come up? How does this show up in your daily life? When you're faced with, feeling like this, and it's kind of embarrassing to admit that this is what you go through, you're plagued with a sense of self-doubt, that it's all going to catch up with you and people are going to see you for what you really are. You have this inability to be realistic about assessing your skill level, because you're constantly mentally downplaying what it is you're doing. You tend to attribute your success to external factors. Well, it was just really great timing that things worked out the way they did. Yeah, I know I did the preparation stuff, but still, it was this other person who made the event a success. I was just along for the ride. You tend to berate your own performance. Yeah, I know I spent 2 weeks setting up this entire event and planning every little detail, but anyone could have done that. That wasn't anything special. That was just, me putting things together. And you have a fear that you're not going to live up to the expectations created by your past performance. That one of these days you're going to hit the ceiling and that's it. You're not going to be able to rise to the occasion again. So what do we do to try to balance this out? A lot of us turn into overachievers. Oh, you want me to do 27 things by the end of the week? Sure, not a problem. I can do that. Yeah. And then because we're doing this, we sabotage our own success with it. If we had accepted doing less, so we could have focused more on what we were doing, then the end result would have been better, right? Again, that's that self-doubt coming in. You're afraid that if you do not meet these expectations, no matter how unrealistic they may be, then you'll be seen for the phony that you are, and then you'll be ostracized. So, we set challenging goals for ourselves, and then when we can't meet the impossible challenge, we feel like we have justified to ourselves that, yeah, I really am a phony at this. If I was really any good at doing this, I would have been able to pull it off with no warning at all, right? It couldn't possibly be I didn't allow myself enough time to plan. It couldn't possibly be that I didn't allow myself enough resources to make this happen. So we self-sabotage ourselves so that we can validate to ourselves that we really are phonies. Yeah, it's a little bit warped, but that's okay, because right now we're looking at what we do. We are discussing how it is that this is impacting our lives. Because trust me, if this has impacted my life, I'm willing to guarantee that at some point it's probably impacted yours too, because I'm not unique. I know that. And this is something that a lot of people face, whether they are ready to admit it or not. You know, imposter syndrome can give you a sense of motivation, a sense of achievement, a sense of, I have to pull off the impossible. At the same time, it can be a source of almost paralyzing amounts of fear. How am I going to do this? How, the anxiety alone that comes from this. How am I going to pull this off this time? Now, the problem with that is just because you're doing well with something, it doesn't change your beliefs. The better you do, the more you accomplish, the more you doubt yourself, because the more certain you are that sooner or later, someone's going to catch on that you really don't know what you're doing. And again, it's just that spiral of thoughts. Yes, I've done the impossible, but next time I do the impossible, they're going to realize that I just got lucky. And that's all there is to it. And eventually, these feelings, this anxiety can create depression. It can create, this feeling of struggle and social anxiety that, you really are just winging it, and when you're caught, it's going to be turned against you. So, do you start feeling like maybe you are just getting lucky at pulling off things? Do you feel that you're not, really accomplishing what people think you are? Do you feel you haven't truly earned any of the rewards or recognition that you've gotten? Yeah, that might be imposter syndrome. Now then, what causes this? Why do we feel this way? For a lot of us, it comes from our childhood. It comes from having parents or caregivers who might really praise you one minute and then the next say you didn't do enough. You weren't good enough. I remember for me, I could bring home a spelling test that had, 98, did a great job on it. And I'd be greeted with, why wasn't it perfect? Why wasn't it 100? You're smarter than this. You could do better. And this is the sort of thing that creates the foundation of imposter syndrome in us. When we bring home something that we feel accomplished for and are told it's not enough, it's not good enough, you didn't do enough, that creates in our mind a feedback loop of, I will never accomplish enough. I will never be able to make this person just blindly accept me and be proud of what I do. It will never be good enough. And that manifests in your life as imposter syndrome. So stay tuned for the next video, and we'll talk about what you can do to get past this energy in your life. I'm Marna, and thank you for joining me.